Would you be able to look at that, like 30 minutes?
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes it just cuts off after
Okay,
30 minutes.
yeah,
It
I'll
shouldn't
keep
do,
an eye on
but
it. Yeah, okay, yeah, no worries.
Okay, cheers. Oh, 压力很大。可以啊，还是你要教课？Learning English。哦，
你在错的地方。你想
应该是
普通话了，说普通话了你。OK， 你可以听听。
This course must be very advanced.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's good. They're still learning. Everyone's learning. Everyone's learning. Okay.
Okay, everyone.
Yay.
There's more here than I expected.
There's more than in the meeting, isn't there?
Exactly. I'm sure more people have joined. Right then, so let's jump into it. So we're already on lesson 3, and today we will have do a quick homework review. So we'll be using one dot in Pleco, and then we looked at split verbs. And vocabulary, conversing with people. So we'll take a look at that. Pronunciation, so tone pairs, and some more pronunciation. Tones, the third dimension. Sci-fi. And fluency, we have to do this. So we've been pushing it back every week, but we'll have to do this today. Rhythm reading. And then finally, pleco or line. Question, mysterious. So it's the usual suspects, so we've got vocabulary and grammar and stuff like that. But the focus today is pronunciation. Just checking if you're listening. Okay, so let's do the homework review. So first of all, we had this homework. In Pleco, use the one-dot method to search for 有助. And then put the dot after it. And find a 3-character word that you can use to translate this sentence. So first of all, did anyone get the word? Rachel?
Is it 有助于?
Yeah, excellent. 有助于.
Oh.
Nice. 有助于, and it means helpful to.
Oh.
So this principle helps to build true friendships. So, did anyone have a go at translating this? No worries if not. Did anyone have a go? It's okay. Yeah, go on, Rachel.
这个原则有助于建立真的友谊。
Nice. Excellent, excellent. 这个原则有助于建立真正的友谊. Well done, Rachel. That's really good. That's really good. So, this word is good. Do you remember last week I said there was a brother who said, we're always saying banju. Are there no other words? So you notice here it doesn't have, this principle helps us to build true friendships. So we can say it with or without, that we use 有助于, we could say 这个原则有助于我们建立真正的友谊, or just 这个原则有助于建立这个真正的友谊. So if it was 帮助, we have to have the woman. So it's useful when you just want to just say something slightly different. So you're just kind of expanding the vocab that way. And just to revisit, remember we did the splits? Everyone's probably still sore from that. So there were these two different ways to say the same thing. And just to highlight new information, the most common way to say something like this is to use this split verb method. So that's just if you want to focus on learning one particular way so that you can get familiar with it, then focus on saying it this way. So do you remember 他们开了7个小时的车 And it seems really weird at first, but actually it's a structure that we're used to. This could be 一个很好的车 or 一部很好的车. So we're used to this number, measure word, and then some kind of adjective to describe the car. So all we're doing is the same thing. The weird thing is just we're using the time duration. But if we just accept that, we're not saying it's a 7-hour car, we're saying we drove the car for 7 hours, and then just kind of like smashed past that barrier in our brain, telling us this is weird, but it's actually how it's commonly said. And do you remember that what we said, this was the split verb object, and we said whatever we can do to normal verbs, we can do to the verb in a verb object pair, and whatever we can do to normal objects or nouns, we can also do to the noun in the verb object pair. And this also works in the other way. So, for example, we discussed the Bible for around half an hour. So here we have a verb. So what would the verb be for discussed? 讨论. And then we have a noun, 圣经. Now up here, 开车, this is a verb object. They go together. You look them up in a dictionary, they're there together. But you're not going to find 讨论 something together in the dictionary. However, we can still do this same structure to these words. So, around, we can say 大概. Half an hour, how do you say half an hour? Yeah, 半个小时. So, following this same structure, 他们开了7个小时的车. So we've got 大概半个小时. How do we say we discussed the Bible for around half an hour? Sure?
我们讨论了大概半个小时的圣经。
Excellent. Yeah, fantastic. 我们讨论了大概半个小时的圣经. So you notice we've got 大概 in there, so we can kind of mess around with some adverbs as well, just to make the sentence a bit plumper. Excellent. So that was just a quick review of that. And today, we're just going to talk about some vocabulary. So, first of all, does anyone remember the required brochure? Do you remember that? Excellent. I think you can find it in the British Museum.
In the library.
So, I think that was one of the very first study aids in Pinyin. And my first study was in the required brochure. First Bible students was with that. And so I used to spend hours, as all of us have done, very carefully preparing the material and additional questions and so forth. And then I'll go back and also just have like a 1 or 2 conversational sentences. But that was about the limit of it. And it was very difficult to have a conversation. And then one day, so he worked in a takeaway, I'd ring the doorbell and see him coming from the back. And then one day I saw him coming and his arm was in a cast, in a sling. And my brain was just like, alarm, unknown vocabulary. And as he was getting closer and closer, I was getting more and more nervous. And he opened the door and I just panicked and said, Shomana. And that's okay. What we do is just work with the vocabulary in the moment. But if you want to build our vocabulary, we need to think, oh, what was it that I wasn't able to say? And then after that situation, do something about it to fill in that gap. So one of the good things is that we have in our congregation many bilingual natives. So maybe we could say, how do you say, what happened to your arm? That's what I wanted to say, not shout what. So what happened to your arm? And hopefully, one of our native bilinguals will say, you could say, need a B-bang, similar. And maybe you learn this new word for arm, B-bang, which is quite easy to look up in the dictionary, but similar is a new kind of phrase. So what does this mean? It means, what's up? What's going on? What happened? So you can say, need a B-bang, similar. If it's your foot, need a job, similar. What happened to your foot? What happened to your arm? And we can use it in other ways too. Need similar. 你心里有事吧? You know, sometimes when we try and arrange something with somebody, and they say, 我有事. I'm sorry, I've got something on. I'm doing something. If we say 心里有事, it means I've got something. It's like heart, but it really means on my mind. She said, 你心里有事吧? Something seems to be on your mind. 你怎么了? What's up? Something on your mind. So this has the same range of politeness as what's up in English. So if you say to someone, what's up with you? Then if you say to someone, 你怎么了? Then it's the same kind of, it could be polite, it could be impolite. So we gauge it based on the situation.
Is that different from 怎么样? You know, like we say, 你怎么样?
Yeah, it is different. So, 怎么样? Yeah, we've been planning this.
对，像这样，我怀疑他们。
If you say to someone, 你怎么了? It means, what's up with you? What's wrong with you? If you say to someone, 你怎么样? Or 你怎样? It just means, how are you? You know, 你最近怎么样呢? How have you been recently? If you wanted to say, how did your exam go? There are different ways to say it, but the most contracted, simple way, 你的考试怎么样? What do you think this sentence means? Manu?
How is your child getting on at school?
Yeah, excellent, yeah. So I went with plural, but it's the same, yeah. How are the kids doing at school? So we're familiar with this word, but what I wanted to point out is something interesting. You know, here it says, how did your exam go? Here it's saying, how are the kids doing at school? So which part of the sentence is telling us the tense? The answer is, there's no part of the sentence telling us the tense. So this is quite interesting. So let's use the example of, does anyone know how to say hot pot?
火锅。
Huoguo? Yeah. So imagine if you're sitting across from your friend at the restaurant and this person is eating huoguo, and you say, 火锅怎么样? That means the Chinese mind will do a conversion for you. They're eating huoguo in the present, and so if they were to translate in English, it would be, how is the hot pot? But if you run into your friend, say, on Tuesday, you say, well, where are you going? They say, I'm going to have some huoguo. You say, oh, tell me all about it tomorrow. At the meeting, you see them, you say, oh, 火锅怎么样? The Chinese mind will convert and say, how was the hot pot? Now, if you try and have that same conversation with an English mind, tell me about the hot pot. You go, well, tell me about the tense first. And you're saying how is or how was. And then you say, well, I'm talking about yesterday, so obviously it's how was. And you know what the English mind will say? You say, well, actually I had two, so it's how were. So this is the nightmare that learners of the English language have. Is, are, were, being, so forth and so on. Whereas in the Chinese, this is one of the reasons why I love Chinese. We don't change the verb. And even if we need to explicitly say that the verb was completed, what do? Just put a line in there, send it out. So in some later lessons, we'll be talking more about tense and how it doesn't exist in Chinese. But English is very tense dependent. Whereas when I said which part of the sentence tells us the tense, it's not the sentence, the tense, it's the context. So the Chinese mind will know, this is referring to an exam I did yesterday. And, my kids are in school right now. So you get like a free conversion. So it doesn't need to do all the verb changing. Okay. So I just wanted to briefly introduce those two words. Any questions about 怎么了 and 怎么样? Yes, indeed.
So if we said to someone, 你怎么了? Is it polite? Is that polite? Or is it just, oh, what's up? Will you only say this like for someone close to you?
Yeah, not to dodge the question, but it really does depend. So for example, Janine had a study whose little baby had eczema, on the skin? And would it be polite or impolite to say, oh, what's wrong with your child's skin? It would really depend on the situation. And that's the same, and how well you know the person. And that's the same as saying, you need hide a people to that. So is it polite or is it impolite? It does depend, yeah. And tone as well. Cool. Yeah, Simon?
I got a question. I don't know if you're able. My English vocabulary is laced with a lot of natural sarcasm, jokey.
Oh.
So I'd say, ni怎么了? Oh, what's up with you? And like you might know from a thing is, oh, what's occurring? That type of thing. Would the Chinese, I don't know if they get that or not. Would it be just best to avoid that type of sort of Englishy based humour in the conversation because they might think, what do you do? Would you? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. You said yeah. Is that yeah? Go on.
礼貌的会你。
Yeah.
Yeah.
可以。
王毅，你怎么了
Hey, Wang Yi. Hey, Wang Yi.
No, go on, 王毅。
就是用了开玩笑的语气。
OK， 开玩笑的，yeah，可以。
你怎么啦？然后就是对，是可以的。
对，因为我的品格，因为对。
对，就是看当时的语境或者是你的表情。如
Yeah.
果你很严肃，然后说你怎么了，然后就
Okay, that's
很
good.
好。
Yeah.
That's good.
Exactly.
Thank you. 谢谢你。
语气 is the tone of your voice.
对。
What's 语境？
表现。
Did you say 语境？
语气。
语气。
Did you say something else? Just 语气。
这是他的口音。
表情。
表情。
Yeah, excellent.
对。
Good.
OK， 谢谢。
Okay. So pronunciation, tone pairs. So we know this chart, and let's just go through it again. So we'll go from here to here. 耶稣，
耶稣，
经文，
经文，
方法，
方法，
帮助，
帮助，
知道，
知道，
文章，
文章，
常常，
常常，
容许，
容许，
暑假，
暑假，
什么，
什么，
感激，
感激，
可能，
可能，
也许，
也许，
可是，
可是，
好的，
好的，
圣经，
圣经，
问题，
问题，
看法，
看法，
上帝，
上帝，
谢谢。
谢谢。
Okay, and now let's see if you can guess which tone we're going to focus on today. So, if we go down here, 帮助，帮助，
帮助，帮助，
暑假，
暑假，
可是，
可是，
上帝，
上帝，
圣经，
圣经，
问题，
问题，
看法，
看法，
上帝，
上帝，
谢谢。
谢
谢
谢。
谢。
Which tone do you think we're focusing on, Molly? Fourth tone.
Yeah.
A very disobedient fourth tone. So, if I'm being honest, it's probably the most mispronounced tone. So, for example, 圣经, we often hear 圣经,
Yeah.
圣经.
神经
So,
It's like that.
It's
It's crazy.
So that's if it's at the beginning, it's like 圣经. But when it's at the end, so you notice 圣 becomes the second tone. But when it's at the end, it often becomes the first tone. 暑假, 暑假. So
暑假，暑假。
I tried to think about why this is. It might be because out of all of the tones, the fourth tone is the least uttered in our English language. Like the second tone, with oh, do you want a cup of tea?
Mm.
But the fourth tone, what do we associate it with? Yeah, anger. So maybe we sort of back off. That's just speculation. But the key is to, well, I need to realise on the subconscious level, the fourth tone is not associated with anger in Chinese. So it's okay. So everyone say 圣经
圣经，
问题
问
问
题，
题，
看
看
法，
法，
上帝
上帝，
谢谢
谢谢，
谢，
帮助
帮助，
暑假
暑假，
可是
可是，
上帝。
上帝，
Now obviously when we're first learning pronunciation points we over exaggerate. So later on, we'll talk about how to sort of reduce that, but still hit the fourth tone. And what we're interested in is this tone pair, fourth, first. And to illustrate what this should look like, has anyone ever seen how a swan lands on the water? Have you ever seen it? It looks like this.
Oh, come on.
It's very cute. So its little legs will do this. So it will come down and it will do that on top of the water and then finally land. So it lands in a fourth, second tone. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to become the swan and do the swan dive. Become the swan. So it comes down. Shun. Shun.
Shun.
And across the water. Jing.
Shun. Jing.
Nice, that's it, yeah. So let's do it all together. Shun. Jing.
Shun. Jing.
Nice. And you can do the action if you want, if that helps. Shun. Jing.
Shun.
Shun. Jing.
Shun. Jing.
唱歌，
唱歌。
唱歌，
唱歌。
那些，
那些。
那些，
那些。
这些，
这些。
这些，
这些。
汽车，
汽车。
汽车，
汽车。
认真，
认真。
认真，
认真。
下班，
下班。
下班，
下班。
上班，
上班。
上班，
上班。
信心，
信心。信心。
信心。
信心。
Last one. So let's go through them all now. 圣经，
圣经。
唱歌，
唱歌。
这些，
这些。
那些，
那些。
汽车，
汽车。
认真，
认真。
上班，
上班。
下班，
下班。
信心，
信心。
That's the last one. So every time you see a swan, just think. So what we just did then, with thinking of the first tone as a swan dive, actually leads us into this, the third dimension. What do I mean by this? So first of all, what is the first dimension of tones? It's the sound. So it's much easier to remember the sound of something than maybe words. So if I were to ask you, you know the song Teach Them to Stand Firm? So what are the words for the third verse? Yeah. But if I were to say, and please don't leave me standing alone, if I were to go, don't stop. That's my favourite song, so you made my dream come true.
No.
But did anyone actively try and remember that tune? It just came back. If I were to say, da da da, what name do you think that is? Jehovah. Yehovah. But it could have been anything, but why do we associate it with that? It's because the sound has embedded itself into our memory. So that's the first dimension. The second one is the visual. So that comes from the tone marks. So when we see the flat tone mark, we associate that with the first. When we see a rising one, that's the second. When we see a fourth one, that's the falling, the fourth tone. And we see a third one, and even though most of the time it's not falling and rising, but when we look at it, we can associate it with a low, flat, crackly tone. So whenever we see those tone marks, the visual aid, with actually the sound of it is brought back to memory. So that's the second dimension. And the third dimension is the feeling. And that's what I want to focus on today, the feeling of tones. And we'll talk about why it's important to do that, but let's first try and understand what that actually means. So, a steam train, if we associate that with the feeling, and this is specifically to do with tone pairs, so if we associate the steam train with the feeling of moving forward, what tone pairs would that be? Miley? Yeah, first.
First. Yeah.
So the steam train, first. And the reason I'm associating the feeling with tones is not just about how it should feel, but when it doesn't feel right. So, of course, we don't have steam trains, but imagine you're on the tube. So, one of the most common ways to mispronounce the first tone is to rise up. So, it should be yeah, so. Sometimes you might hear yeah, so. Well, if we associate this feeling with the steam train, if you're sitting on the tube and the first thing it does is leave the tracks, it goes off, you'll be like, something doesn't feel right. So if we know that the sound should be and we see the tone mark is flat, but our voice is rising, then something doesn't feel right. So we can associate feeling with the tone. So what tone pair do you think you can associate with the waterfall?
4.
4. So first of all, the water goes like that. And then
Okay.
4's 5.
So 1, 4.
1, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Right.
So it goes like this, and it goes like that. So remember that the first tone is sometimes mispronounced as the second tone. So if water is going up a hill, then you know Jehovah's hand is behind it. So something isn't right. The sound of the second tone, fourth tone, sorry, sometimes that's pronounced as a second tone. Again, it wouldn't be right for water to go uphill. So for this one, the steam train, Yesu, everyone say Yesu.
Yesu.
And the waterfall, bang, ju.
Bang, ju.
So if I say bang, ju, then the water's gone uphill and then flat. So we know that's incorrect. What about this one, the knife child? No violence intended. What do you think?
4, 4.
4. Yeah, 4. So this one, take the word kanda. So sometimes when there's 2 4 tones together, sometimes people back off like completely and say kanda instead of kanda. So imagine the knife chart. Imagine you're cutting onions. It should be kanda. If I say kanda, then what have I done? I've run a steam train over the onions. You know that doesn't sound right. Although that would make a good recipe, wouldn't it? Try to kill the onions, then run a train over them. How about the roller coaster? What time do you think that is? Yeah, 2, 4. So what feeling can we associate with this? So it's the anticipation as you go up. So take for example, 暑假, 暑, you're waiting for the fall, then it comes, 假. No, wow, that was good. But remember that sometimes the fourth tone is mispronounced as the first tone. So if you think about what kind of roller coaster, you're like, 暑, you're like, oh, here we go, 假. Oh, pay
10 quid.
Yeah. So we want the anticipation, 暑, and then the drop, 假. The swan dive,
圣经
圣经,
4th
the
and
fourth
1st.
first, and the swan rise.
Nice.
What do you think that is?
1, 2.
1, 2, yeah, first, second. Now, we have all the tones on here, except which one? Yeah, the third tone. Yeah, the fifth. Yeah, there is a fifth tone, but it's neutral. It's just like really, really soft. So you are correct. That's not there. But the tones that we actually work to express is 1 to 4, and number 3 is not there. But actually, remember what tone is the third tone parallel to?
First.
Yeah, first. The first is high and flat, and the third, most cases, is low and flat. So actually, we can do the waterfall, bang, zhu. We can also do it for the third tone, like rebel, fa, pan, pan. The swan dive as fourth and first, sheng jing. Or we can also do fourth, third, kan, fa, kan, fa. And here, first, second, jing, wen. We can also do third, second, 可能. Over the next few weeks, when we do the practice, we'll still incorporate third tones into there. However, the only one we can't do it with is we can't do third here. What do you think that is?
That becomes a half tone.
Exactly. Yeah. So we pronounce the third as like second third. It would sound like. But other than that, we have some kind of feelings that we can associate with the tones, and let's just practice. So the steam train should be first. Yesu,
Yesu,
帮助
帮助
看到
看到
暑假
暑假
圣经
圣经
经文
经文
基督吃饭
吃饭
电话
电话
学校
学校
唱歌
唱歌
非常分开
分开
高兴
高兴
记住
记住
节目放心
放心
当时搬家发现下次一样一边中国 That's one.
Yay.
Excellent. So, if we think about that, so we talked about 3 dimensions. So, first of all, the sound. So, you hear something, and we often say, oh, that doesn't sound right. So, that's based on what you hear. We sometimes also say, that doesn't look right. So, that's the visual. But if you think about that, that's both dependent on external stimuli. But when we say something doesn't feel right, where does that come from? It comes internally. And so that would mean that if we can associate a feeling with tones, then it becomes more intuitive. And I would say it's important to do that. Out of all of the things, there's a question of, should we try and sound like a native? I would say the most important is with tones, to try and sound like a native. And the way to do that is to get more intuitive with the tones and to be like aware of the sound, the look, and also the feel. Molly?
And this might be a really stupid question, but if you, like, how do I word that? So when you're reading, is it better to, if you're trying to get more of a feeling for how things should sound and how it should feel inside, like, because when you're reading, if you're reading characters, you know the character, but you might not know the tone. So what is the best way to, without having to go back to pinyin, no disrespect to the pinyin at all, because we all use it and like it, but rather than going fully back to pinyin, is there any way to improve, or is there, sorry for the English, a way that you suggest that we could improve while still using characters but having more of a feel for how the tone should be?
Yeah, I would say that pinyin is still a useful tool for that.
Okay.
But use it sort of more intentionality. So
Okay.
go through the reading first with
Yeah.
pinyin,
Yeah.
and I know it sounds really cheesy, but get the feeling for the rhythm.
Okay.
So read it through a few times, and then kind of try and map that onto
Yeah.
the characters. And you can just do it. You don't have to do the whole reading.
Yeah.
You could set a goal to say, I'm going to read one verse
Sure.
in characters
Yeah.
after I've practiced it in
Yeah.
pinyin.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like the more you use, I don't mean this in any way at all, but the more you use characters, the less I feel the tones are correct.
Yeah.
So it's like you might be making progress in one area, but you're
Mm.
kind of in the
Yeah.
other one, and the kind
Yeah.
of how the tone should sound. So, like, do you think it's worthwhile listening as you're reading, or is that not you doing like?
That's actually a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever you can do to associate the sound with the character
Okay.
is good. Is a
Yeah.
good idea to do.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
Simon?
Do you remember at Harry's? Do you remember they did the shadow? They called it
Yeah.
Ghost. That was a good.
Yeah.
The shadow reading. That
Yeah.
one's definitely
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
So like,
Okay.
Which we've got today.
oh, have we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, you found it again.
Come on. Yeah. So let's
Sorry,
get in
sorry,
there.
man.
I know, we'll go next.
Teachers.
Exactly. Excellent. So, rhythm reading, which is going to incorporate some of that shadow reading as well. So we'll just go through this, and then we want to break up into some groups and do some practice. So, let's listen to the reading here. Isaiah 书55章8节. So let's just listen to the reading. Hopefully that the volume is up.
耶和华宣告：我的思想跟你们的思想不同，我的道路跟你们的道路不一样。
So first of all, what do you think of his speed? Do you think he's fast, slow, or somewhere in the middle? Fast. Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, he's fast, but he does pause a lot. You know, as well. Like, 我的思想不同，
Yeah,
我的道, you know, so he is pausing at the right for a long time at the places.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought it was fast at first, but not rushed. So what's he doing here? Well, this is the point that we said a couple of times. When we first learn pronunciation, we over-exaggerate it, but then over time we want to learn to kind of bring it down to almost native levels. So a good example is Yehovah. So, well, two things. We know it's the most important name we can ever utter. And so sometimes the temptation might be to like very carefully pronounce the tone. Of course, we do want to enunciate it correctly. But you notice, instead of Yehovah, he said Yehovah, Yehovah. So the yeah, even though it was short, it couldn't be anything else. We know it wasn't Yehovah, it was still first tone. And the same with the second tone. So all he did was shorten them, and that's why he was able to read fast without being rushed. And we see another example here, and I hope this works, but do you remember we learned about learning the pronunciation in isolation is not a good thing. You want to learn it in combination. I hope it works. Listen to how Pleco says this word.
思想
Yeah, it's kind of like a robot. And how about the reader?
思想
Okay, so you couldn't hear it, but 思想.
我的思想，
So try the first way. 思想.
思想，
And then try it the reader's way. 思想.
思想，
Yeah. So the tones couldn't be anything else. 思 is still first tone.
思想，
Still third tone. Now, people are going to have different reading speeds, so it's important to do it at your own speed. But equally important to not do it like how Pleco pronounces stuff. So what we're going to do is, do you remember there was a video from a channel called Chinese 0 to Hero? And he does some really, really good stuff. And some of the stuff one of the things that he does is he uses just a sound, da, 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 to go through reading. And that kind of like takes our mind off what the word is and just focuses us on the sound. So we're going to try that. So I'll demonstrate. So this would sound like just using da, 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 da. So everyone say da, 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 da.
哒哒哒哒哒，
耶和华宣告，
耶和华宣告，
打的打打，
打的大打，
耶，打的打打，
打的大打，
打的打打，
打的大打，
我的思想
我的思想，
，You ready？打打打打打打打打。
哒哒哒哒哒哒哒哒。
Yeah. Was that too long?
Oh well.
Let me break it down a bit. Da
哒哒哒哒
da 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 da. 跟你们的
哒哒哒哒
哒哒哒哒
哒哒哒哒，
思想不同，
思想不同，
打的大大，
打的大大，
我的道路，
我的道路，
哒哒哒哒大大，
哒哒哒哒大大，
跟你们的道路，
跟你们的道路，
大大大
哒哒哒，
不一样。
不一样。
耶和华宣告，
耶和华宣告，
我的思想
我的思想
跟你们的思想不同，
跟你们的思想不同，
我的道路
我的道路
跟你们的道路不一样。
跟你们的道路不一样。
That sounds really good.
Well, thank you.
So we'll have this recording in the homework file, so you can do it, practice it at home. So you can, if you're living with someone who doesn't speak Chinese, it'll sound really good. Okay, so what we're going to do is, as an exercise. Oh, I forgot to send this file to you. Where is my phone? Oh, it's there.
Do you want me to send? Is that the ones you sent me?
Yeah. Can you put it? Can
Yeah.
you? I need to add. Wang as well.
Okay.
Can you add people?
I don't think.
Or maybe if you put it on the
put it on
lesson WhatsApp chat,
Yeah.
and then also send it to Wang Yi.
Okay.
Cheers, man.
Yeah. Let's put that in a second. Come on. There we go.
There you go.
That's good. And Maggie. Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
Cool. Should I?
也收到了，谢谢。
And Maggie. Yeah. 收到了吗？收到。收不收到？
以为你的意思是我。
收不收？
Molly, Cindy, and Rachel. Could you come on here?
Come on, team.
And Okay, 好。
嗨。
Okay. So
嘿，很高兴你可以跟我一起
okay.
来看我们马马虎虎的普通话。
Bye, Tila.
哎，起了 ，take care。
Oh, that's okay.
Good man.
Yeah. So okay, the lads of the Simon, are you okay to take back with?
Yeah, yeah.
And then one you will be give me a chance. So nice. So you do we will be with Tamar and Sylvia and Rachel. Yeah. So
It's true. I get sloppy. You know, with the tone. You know.
So just to explain what's going to happen, so we just split up into 3 groups, and what the instructor will do. So these are individual pronunciation practices. So the instructor will say, for example, Paolo to Christian, and then Christian will say it back, and Simon will go through the list just with Christian, and then move on to Sean, and then move on to James. So it's this individual practice. Does that make sense? So you know the file that you have? So you will start with, for example, Tamar, and you will pronounce the word, Tamar will repeat, and then you'll move on to the next word, Tamar will repeat, and you'll go through all of those words on the first sheet, and then go on to Sylvia, and then to write, or whichever order. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And then we'll just see how much time we have. So 15 minutes, I think. Ooh.
Hey.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Oh, it's nice. 圣经，
圣经，
我们没有吗？
唱歌，认真，上班，信心，这些，下班，然后汽车，那些。Have you got? Oh, you haven't got the file, have you? Yeah, yeah.
I've got the file. Should I start looking at the file?
Yeah. Just say it back. Just say it back.
Okay.
哦
So
那我们俩
Yeah. So if you say it back, 圣经. Every time I think you said it wrong, I'll say it back to you.
okay. 圣经，
还有，但是我看不清。
Yeah, just go through it. Yeah, go left to right. Just say them all.
圣经，唱歌，认真，上班，信心，这些，
信心，
OK，那你说
信心，信心，
唱歌、
信，
认真、
信心，
The association you did do that. It's swan dive. That's it.
上班、
信
下班、
信心，
That's it. Now.
这
那
些，
些、
下班，汽车，那些，
好的，非常好。
保罗。
How's that feel? Good? Yeah. Okay. Sean, baby Roots.
Oh, listen to you say.
You can read it or listen, doesn't matter. I'm just doing it now. 圣经，
耶和华宣告，
唱歌，
我的思想
认真，
上班，
跟你们的思想
信心，
信心，
这些，
我的道路
下班，
跟你们的
下班，
汽车，
道路不一样。
那些。
那些，
You're right with this, James. You've got the practice. You ready? Yeah, you ready? Oh, yeah. Read it back.
Actually, that child I'm teaching Chinese, he speculated that.
圣经，
Some people do.
唱歌，
圣经，
认真，上班，
认真，
认真，
认真。
Think of them separately.
Okay, that's good.
上班，
如果第一次是圣经，圣和圣经，
汽车，
来
那些，
汽车，
第二个你们在
汽
边
车，
那些，
那些，
下班。
圣经
下班，
Yeah, it's good. I think we usually, because you're so polite, I know what it is like, you know, when I say something like shit, it sounds like, especially booyah. I think that sounds so rude, you know, when somebody says booyah. It just took me ages to sort of like, but yeah, that's good. Just, yeah, good. Okay. 圣经，唱歌，认真，上班，信心，这些，下班，汽车，那些，请您。Yeah, well, yeah. You got that, yeah. So Bible, I can tell you, yeah, Bible.
圣经，唱歌，认真，上班，信心，这些，下班，客车，那些，
谢谢你的这些 That's good, I like that. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so 现在我们会看看这个 Swan 天鹅起来 It's like Swan rise. There you go. So Christian. 果实，选择，
So that was the swan dive for Georgie. So now we're doing the swan rise.
保罗，以前，小时候，可能。
好，那已经很好 That's good. You're good with that one. So yeah. Sean, 果实，再次进果实。Try the more right 果实。选择。
对了，我这个
You're going up 选择。No way, 选择。 选择，好嘞，学徒，
也再读一遍跟我啊。
Try and get lower on your first one.
唱机认真，
Yeah, you get really low. Get your baritone out. Just do low and flat. No, I have practiced that.
小时
You're going bao luo, like that, bao, which is high, so it's a little lower. The first one you do low.
耶和华宣告我的思想，我的思想跟你们的思想不同，跟你们的思想不同，我的道路，我的道路，跟你们的道路，跟你们的道路不一样。
bao. 以前，
喜欢他的什么？
Okay, so after this, yeah, there's definitely, there's your weak point. I think. Say it again anyway, just go through them and then I'll.
What? What? This is what is
What song do you sing that's really low? What song did you sing like that of the that's got that's
我知道，但是你说 how， 你说 like fourth tone.
Yours is like it's just like the first one's so too high, it still needs to get lower.
Yeah.
Like 我是选择是主题like so it's got to be just a bit lower actually, yeah. You're well done, yeah, but
That's okay.
Yeah, you might have to work on that, getting it low. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes. No, don't worry. That's all right. That's good. I'll try to it with Jane. Like,
You can't say, are you busy? No, it's not like this.
以前，小时，对，that's a way to. No, it's just getting lower. It's harder. Give it a go. Yeah.
Helps a lot.
Why? Why? Oh, why? Yeah. Oh, you yeah. Why?
If you exaggerate it, so you when you spoken, it's not called.
Yeah.
If it's Pleco, so it's going down up again. So it's very, very low. So in speech, it seems to be.
So
it's almost ignore the your.
That's all. Is it? Song number 5. That is a really low song. But it's like low. But yeah. I know it goes high, but the first is but just no. Don't worry about it. But yeah. Okay, cool. Do we do the sentence as well?
No, I think we've got time.
No worries.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah. My one was you. I couldn't say that at all. I mean, it was like lots of like yo you. It's like I was like look yo lu because it sounded silly to me, you know.
So if it's like if it's for example
all of you like when you do the first second,
first new
You try to do what bother about.
you make the difference only depending on what's next, right?
First song tune.
First it's almost like you're not saying the.
Oh, okay, so it's also very short and like.
It's almost like you're not saying let's say the 德小
Hi everyone. Hi. So we'll finish up there since we've run out of time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for Simon and Wayne as well.
Sorry, Pat.
Okay. So let's just wrap up with this: Pleco or line. So we all know and love Pleco. But there's another dictionary which is very useful, which you can download. I assume you can get it on iOS. But I just want to compare the strong points and weak points of these two dictionaries. So, particularly when it comes to pronunciation. So just listen to the way that Pleco says this word, if you can hear it. Did you hear that? No. Let me turn that a little bit up.
Oh, the sound might not. Okay, I it would do.
So basically, the tones are in isolation. None. And then listen to the pronunciation from line.
Oh wow.
Was that your voice? So you see what happened? It was a tone pair, not isolation. And let's try a 3-word one. Yeah, what? Listen to how Pleco says it. See that? Whoa. So everyone say yeah, hua. Try that.
Yeah, hua.
It's quite natural, isn't it? But line. Yeah, try that.
Yeah, hua.
Yeah, excellent. But my favourite is this one. And first, listen to how line says it. That's okay. Everyone say ma ma hu hu.
Ma ma hu hu.
Now listen to how Pleco says it.
Whoa.
Say ma hu hu.
It's like Steve Trade, isn't it?
Which way would you prefer to say it?
That's a good idea.
Imagine if you said small apple or something young. They said ma hu hu. Okay, let's just go back to eating in silence.
Yeah.
So, just comparing the two, when it comes to, stuff like we learned about the split verb, and we got that from Pleco. So when it comes to like grammar, vocabulary, flashcards, stuff like that, like nothing touches Pleco. But when it comes to pronunciation, line is much better to learn how to pronounce things naturally. Cool. It also has a website as well. So let's just quickly go through the homework. So what we want to do here is make sentences for 怎么了, 怎么样, and 有助于. So these are the 3 vocabulary from today. And you can put your sentences here, but please do put them there. So, by the way, it's not just one person checking it. So there's a team of checkers. So don't hold back for that or anything. But feel free to put them there, because unfortunately, we don't have time to go through them in the lesson, which we'd love to do. So if you want to have them looked at, then you can put them there. And number 2, so using the audio in the Google Drive folder, daily practice the tone pairs, the tone third dimension, and the rhythm reading. And it is a good idea to do daily. When we're working on pronunciation, definitely a good idea to do daily. And then lastly, download the line dictionary, or you can click on here, go to the website, and search for some words of your choice, and just listen to the difference between Pleco and line.
Done it. I've already downloaded it. Got it. Brilliant. Fantastic.
Thanks to Simon and Wayne as well.
Well done, mate. Well done. Yeah, well done. So I'm just going to cut on. Take care, Rachel. See you.
Yes, it's in Wednesday. Yeah.
Make sure it's Chinese dictionary line. Yeah, you get it. Bye bye, guys.